Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. It is Peter and I again, and we're actually doing something cool. We're fielding questions from our audience. Nothing better. So if you have a topic you want us to cover, or if you have some sort of pressing issue in your practice, don't hesitate. We're here. If it's compelling and we think other people are suffering from the same ailment, we'll be on it and answer it. So this is going to be anonymous, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. Hey, Peter, you there? I just want to make sure I got
I'm here, buddy. I'm sitting here waiting in the wings.
Okay, cool. So, hey, docs, I've been listening to your guys' podcast since I was a third-year dental school student. Thanks for that. I just recently graduated last year and recently franchised a small practice with a DSO. I'm constantly running into communicating with employee situations. I love that. I'm constantly running into this whole I have to talk to people stuff. Anyway, my experienced dental assistant often tells me, quote, the other doctor doesn't use this, or the other doctor only does this. Since I'm a new doctor, they often don't do notes for me and do not mark the completed treatment before they take the patient to the front desk. I have to constantly tell them to make sure you do this and that before communicating with my employee situations. My experienced clinical assistant I'm sorry, this is a JPEG. Blah, blah, blah. I have to constantly tell them to make sure you do this and that before you take the patient up front. Do you have some suggestions on how you communicate with your assistant/staff? Any suggestions on classes I should take to make my approach to them a bit easier? I love doing dentistry, but dealing with assistants is just not my strong suit. Thank you. Good for you. Thanks for writing us.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Thanks.
That is awesome. Taking the time. Yeah. You probably didn't think that it would make the big time being published to the airwaves, but here we go. But you left it anonymous, so I dig it.
No, he didn't leave it anonymous. I just
I know you did though.
No, because you know what? I want to talk about how to remedy it, and I don't want anybody feeling hurt. But it is, I think, one thing about communication, and I'm just going to jump in on a 30,000 foot view, is why is it so hard for me and so easy for others? I think the first thing in problems is we suffer because we feel like, why am I having to deal with this? You know, I look at Dr. So-and-so and their Instagram and everything just runs like seamlessly over there. It's just perfect. And I think the first thing to realize is the only difference between amazing results and mediocre results is the quality of their communication. Mm-hmm. So kudos to you for asking the question, saying, is there a book I could learn? Because you're starting to say, instead of the finger pointing outward, you're saying the three finger pointing back at me. I need to learn something. So kudos to you.
I would agree with that. There's some accountability, and it's not like, oh, these shitty assistants and all these shitty people. There's like, hey, maybe I'm doing something. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I agree. I think that's
and by the way, that's the primary knee-jerk reaction is screw these assistants, screw these hygienists. They don't appreciate anything. And kudos to you for saying, what can I do to learn?
So what's the advice, Craig?
Well, I'm going to go off of the first thing. The quality of your life is directly related to the quality of your communication. We don't go through communication school. We learn math. We learn social studies. We don't learn how to communicate. And human beings are tricky animals. Peter and I were having a conversation earlier today, and we were talking about like the fact that we're like basically a civilized ape. We can have a rational conversation because everything's going okay. But if the shit goes down and you feel threatened either physically or emotionally, you're going to react. Your limbic system's going to kick in. You're going to produce enough neurochemicals to make you act temporarily insane. So we have this condition of being human where at certain points we're run by, our better judgment, and other points are run by the chemicals that flow through our body. So, but if you notice, the best people, the people living the most epic life typically are the best communicators. They're wonderful at communication, and they had to learn it on their own. They had to be students of it, and they had to decide how to make other people, give other people feedback by still empowering them and building them up. But I don't know about you, Pete, but in my life, I see these amazing people that have great existences, and there's a consistency throughout them. They are wonderful communicators, and they are builders. They build people up. They're multipliers. They make everybody better around them. And I see that. So I see a link between overall happiness, wealth, and general success with higher quality communicators.
Yeah, so I would say, Craig, that this is easy for you. So he may be more in my camp, right? You are a good communicator. You are not afraid of hard conversations. You are not afraid to say things to people that you're intuitive, right? Your EQ is off the charts. You're very good. You're very good. And we've had this conversation even on the podcast before. It's harder for some. Communication's harder for some that way. I think I struggle with it to the same degree that this person is. So where you can get the outcome you're wanting by leading with it being an empath and trying to understand where they come from. Like I probably didn't do that I don't do that in a lot of my communication, which is I would think that you're superior in your communication.
Well, I appreciate that, Pete, but I just want to like pull back the
call bullshit.
Yeah, I'm going to call bullshit on that a little bit, or a lot actually. So I was
good talk.
No, I was, and maybe you don't know this or maybe forgot, but there were many nights where I'd go home like really uncomfortable in my own skin because I made 2 or 3 people in my office cry. So it might be that I'm an empath and that's what led me out of it. But my go-to communication style before I refined it was to blow people up. My assistant, Michelle, who, a good friend of mine as well. She's not only my right-hand assistant, but, just a good person in my life. I remember her going into the room, like at a certain point, like when she was first with me, she'd be so upset and nervous around me that she'd run out crying oftentimes. And I had to realize, oh shit, like here's like this, I'm a father now and she's a young girl. And I imagine my own daughter dealing with somebody who was being a little bit of a dictator like me. And she had to get up in my face and finally say like, listen, this is, we have to have a better way of communicating, and me adjusting to that. And also then me having a conversation with her saying like, okay, well, do you know when this happens? She's like, yeah, it's when you get in a bad mood. I'm like, well, do you know when I get in a bad mood? She's like, yeah, everybody does. You walk differently in the office. We can feel when you're in a bad mood. So I was like, can you do me a favor? If you ever see that I'm in a bad mood, will you let me know? She's like, I mean, can I? I'm like, yeah, I could. I'm like, just do it. So then what would happen from that is JoJo, our latest assistant that came to our team, I had another similar conversation with her where I was like she was getting upset. I was like, how can you do this? You got to get this on, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And what wound up happening there is Michelle like got up in my face and she said like, you better not, F this up with JoJo. She's awesome. She's smart. And don't do what you did to me to her. That type of like really harsh conversation. And I wasn't a great communicator with my team, and I was, knocking them down. You can feel when I'm upset with you. And I think I was not doing a good job of disguising my feelings, and people could feel wasn't feeling, try to land me here, Peter. I had to come to the realization after hurting enough people that this is not the type of leader I want to be. And I made a hard turn.
Well, look, but I appreciate that. I think this question though, that he's posing, it does relate to that, right? There's nothing that lives in a silo by itself. But I think the question he's saying is like, hey, how do I get the output that I'm wanting without having to yell and be a dictator and all these things? Because it sounds to me like too, he's saying like, hey, the assistants don't respect me, but they do this stuff for other doctors, but not me. So it's almost like, how do I gain the respect of the team?
Well, that's his belief. He said, since I am a new doctor, they often don't do notes for me.
Right.
That's his opinion
as well, to that's why probably factual. But like, look, I agree with you.
Well,
I think
everything asked them.
Well, we don't know. We don't have the intel.
We don't know, but that's typically what happens. Like, since I'm new, they won't do it. Well, did you ask them? Well, no, but they do it for the other doctor. Well, maybe the doctor sat down. I'm saying inputs equal outputs. And really good communicators, like you have a style with your team. They know how to win. Peter was just showing me before we jumped on the call, this really cool metric he's building. And it's really just every dashboard, every bit of the data is there. So everybody knows how to win. So part of communication is setting expectations. It's not making people feel good. I appreciate your comments that you're giving me compliments that I'm an empath and I have a way of making people feel good. That's fine. But when you're conducting business, there's a list of tasks that need to be completed.
Right.
And if they don't get done, it doesn't matter how good your feel good is.
That's would have been my advice, as you were kind of, rapping and saying like you've gotten good because you've gotten a lot of reps, you've gotten your ass kicked at doing some of this. And mine, it would be, if I was in this gentleman's situation, I would start with sitting down, right, and doing the best communication I can say is, hey, I really need this done at the end of the day. I need these 3 things done. Can you do that for me? Is there something I can help with? Like making it a collaborative thing versus I am the boss, do what I say, or I am your boss, do what I say, making it being like this. Hey, we need to get these 3 things done at end of day. I need notes done. I need my post-operative calls done or whatever. Like, I need this from you. And this is a non-negotiable. And like, let me know how I can help. And then like stop right there. And if they say, well, it's nothing I can do, say, well, okay, we just need to find the solution. Like these are non-negotiables. We have to find the solution. I'm willing to help, but like we need a system between the 2 of us, full stop. Because without a system between the 2 of us, or without accountability between us, shit's going to fall through the cracks. I'm going to get, we're going to get bad reviews as a doctor assistant team. We're not going to be operating. We're not going to be thriving correctly. Patients, things are going to fall through the cracks.
Before that happens, Pete, without an accountable system, you build a sloppy system, you get sloppy results. The doctor and or assistant stop communicating properly. Rapport breaks down. Everybody resents each other. It's like a bad relationship. I mean, it's the same thing. Like your assistant and you, or your team and you, is the same as your friends and your family. You'll get old enough and you'll start to see recurring themes.
What I have found though, Craig, and pardon, I know you weren't probably done, but fine. is that a lot of times people want to do the right thing, meaning, right, they want to score the goal. It's just we as doctors or owners or haven't set where's the goal line? Like what's a win and what's a loss, right? And so I think sometimes it's just like, hey, if we can do these things and stay on time, like you and I are going to be good. Like let's just do that, right? We'll be good. We'll talk. So I think there's probably been a lack of delineation about a win versus a loss in this scenario, probably
100%. Right? And to compound it, the doctor is feeling, well, she does it for the other doctor.
It's alignment. It just always goes back to like alignment, man.
But if you ask, if someone just takes the time to ask, like, hey, assistant, you do these 3 things for the doctor. Why? Well, 2 of them he told me to do. And 1 I started doing like 2 years into working with them. And they said it was a really good idea. Or I just learned over time, that's what it is. But if this doctor, people can feel what you believe. So if this doctor is like, these people don't respect me, he is walking around, his nonverbal communication, or his or her nonverbal communication, is showing them like F you energy, and they're going to get worse around it. You have to resolve before you communicate. These people are trying to do their best. I've got to be crystal clear. And even just going to them like, hey, is it really clear about what I want? Is it crystal clear what I want? Just, I want to make sure maybe I'm not the greatest communicator. I just want to make sure it's crystal clear that I want you to write the notes before no, I had no idea. Because the one time I did that, you looked at me weird.
Or you've been doing it. So I thought like you wanted to do it. Right. And there it is right there. Right. Well, you were doing it. I was only doing it to fill in the gap because you weren't doing it. And it's like, well,
or the one time I did do it, you asked for a correction. The one time I did do it.
All right, let's jump off. I feel like we've beaten this horse. It's just, I think this happens a lot, especially, and this gentleman's coming from a DSO scenario. So I think this happens a lot more in corporate offices. I believe it or not, I hear it more. Maybe that's anecdotal, but I hear this more, is that there's a system but a system does not trump you having to communicate with what your expectations are from provider level are.
And by the way, even if you're an associate or you work in a practice, you still need to be excellent and crystal clear with your communication. And also, just when you say, is there any class I should go to? Just tell your assistants, tell your people that you work with, hey, they spent 4 years of dental school teaching me how to do composites and fillings and crowns and vertical dimension and medical history. They spent 0 minutes on me about how do I run an office, how do I become a business leader,
how to talk to people,
how to talk to people. So what I need your help, guys and gals. I need your help to help me lead this practice. So anytime, there's no stupid questions. Anytime you don't understand what I really want, please ask me.
And that creates a micro alignment, Craig. You are so right. A micro alignment with you and your, not only, we talk about alignment from a 30-foot, 1,000-foot down in your office, having your whole office aligned, but there's also little micro alignments that need to occur. Right. And that right there is like giving people permission to say, hey, yeah, we're on your team.
Vulnerability too. It's vulnerability of the doctor saying, hey, I need help with this. And then your team will be like, oh, well, they loved it. They want to help. No one is a dental assistant for the money, especially now when you can walk by like a barbecue place and their starting salaries are $26. I mean, I was in Austin, for our summit, Pete.
Yeah.
And there were signs at like Terry Black's barbecue at the front of the barbecue, line cooks, $30 an hour. So what I'm trying to say is these assistants are doing it because they want to be a part of a healthcare profession. They want to help the doctor. They want to deliver care. They want to be an adjunct to your hands. So asking them for help is going to be right up their alley. They're caregivers, they're empaths. So I think it's really important. So hopefully we helped that question. Keep the questions coming. You can do them here, or you can actually go to the Mighty Network, which is kind of an interesting place to exist too. Peter, do you want to kind of jump off into that?
Boy, that was a great, compelling thing. It's an interesting place over there.
Yeah, very interesting.
That's very interesting.
Very interesting
no, it's just awesome. I think it's like the line I use from about Twitter is, I can't believe this is free, because I think you just get so much information from Twitter. I think Bulletproof Network is the same thing, in that it's like you can just have a conversation, and like great entrepreneurial dental minds will give you feedback. What?
Yeah.
Right. It's not a, I think there are some forums online that, and we all know what I'm talking about, for dentists. And there's a lot of crab potting, I call it.
Oh
right?
My God. It's tell them,
right, where
what crab pot, what a crab pot is.
So a crab pot is, I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard this, right?
No, but I love it. I want to hear it. I love hearing this.
So look, you catch crabs, right? Have you ever thrown crabs in a pot? As soon as one starts getting too high, another one will look up and say, that looks awesome. I may be able to climb out from him, and he'll pinch him, pull him down. And so the analogy is like, no one likes, it's like getting everyone back down to the base level. So some of these forums do not like it when you become better than, because it exposes their mediocrity, right? And so it's like, wait a second, how are you doing so well as a dentist when I am not? Right. So let me throw some jabs, because your clinical care must suck. Your office mic suck. You may not, you may be doing. So my point is, God, I can go on this diatribe for a long time.
I think it's really important.
It is important, but I think we've hit that, Craig. Point is that I've never seen a better forum for collaborative rooting for you. Let me share with you because this worked for me, versus like, there's no infighting is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, the forum is really cool. If you haven't joined, then I don't know what to tell you. You can't drink.
Well,
you can't make it.
Here's my thought on that too. So, we've always said, Peter and I say that we've borrowed it from the greats, like, show me your 5 closest friends, I'll show you your future. So you're a product of the circles you put yourself in. I was on a business Facebook page. I can't help myself. If you could just see how many times I've written a response and then completely deleted it before I could post it. A well thought out response where I'm like, okay, this is really going to help people. It's usually about hygiene or assistance. It's venting about your people.
I know where you're going with this.
So what I did yesterday is
your delete. I know where your delete is going. I know where it's going with that, because you're like, oh my God, I don't have the time to.
Well, not only that, but I can't influence this crab pot. They're gonna grab me and throw me down there. So I can't, I'm just like, hey guys, there's a way out. Like, come follow me. There's a hole in the crab pot. We don't need to be crab soup. Let's go. And I'm like, oh shit, these people are going to drag me down and tear me apart. Yeah. And it was all about a question about hygienists, and everybody was saying like, this is ridiculous. And I can't believe you're still hiring hygienists. Haven't you learned about my 5 steps to the hygiene-free model? Hygiene-free model?
What?
Cleaning. So a doctor's going to clean teeth for 85. I mean, listen, in the beginning, we all did it. I mean, Peter and I in the beginning, we cleaned teeth. I
was horrible at it too. Horrible.
Well, I mean, you had to do it, but actually consciously firing a hygienist because they want X dollars per hour. We've gone through this already. We have 2 hygienists. I have multiple. We have multiple hygienists that are doing north of $400,000 of collections per year. In fact, 2 that are doing 500,000 and collected dollars per year. And there's a systematic way to do it. And I've made a lot of mistakes. I did the wrong bonus structure, the wrong hygiene compensation. We've done the wrong things. I had to honor it because you can't change that compensation, or at least I couldn't. But we figured it out. We refined the system. There's a system to do it. And this is not theory. This is not those dental consultants that are drinking Red Bull, jumping around on stage. This is actually you and me that are actually doing it. I think between us, we have 10 hygienists on compensation plans, and no one is doing less than $350 a year. So if those hygienists look at their hourly wage, yeah, they're 45, 55, 65, but who cares? Who cares? Like, I don't care if I bought Amazon stock and it went from 1,000 to 3,000. I am not angry at Jeff Bezos because he made billions. I tripled my money. It's business. What bothers you more? Does your hygienist salary bother you more, or does the amount of money your business is making because you have an awesome person on your team bother you more? Like, it's just math. Don't get offended over math. Math is just numbers. And going on these Facebook pages, I'm so proud of the, bulletproof.dental, because this is a scenario where we can actually control the dialogue.
It's a closed ecosystem.
If someone comes on and be like, oh, screw the hygienist, screw the assistants, it's a race to the bottom having assistants, you should do it all yourself. I'm going to push you to delete that chatter, because that's just, we got to cancel that person.
Yeah. Or someone who's not abundant thinking and not sharing and only taking. Like, yes, I agree with you. Point is, it's a great community. It's growing. I think there's 500-600 active members now in the community. Craig, I didn't tell you this, but I think we're actually getting our own branded app in the iOS store that's going to the pro level of it, because it's just so fun to get in there and collaborate and share, that I think it's a good altruism to our colleagues. I really do. So enough on that. I do want to talk about something though that is a little bit pressing, and hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, it's not moot. And it might be in that the summit, as everyone knows, the summit is coming on, and I'm going to talk about this for a second, not as a shameless plug, Craig, but as an education, because it's a completely different structure this year, pretty much. Not completely, but it's expanded and gotten more complex.
We could have made the summit 7 days, but no, I want to do 7 days of learning. So it's the same 2 days.
But everyone knows it launched the other day at last Friday. Today's Monday, the 25th. It launched. The registration Lacey put out was, I guess, 3 days ago. And we're allowing for early birds, which are almost gone now as of, which is great. There's 50 early bird tickets, which is great. That's what we want. But this summit is eight months away. So this one will sell out. It's in Nashville. It's a confined space. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a great time. But the most important and the most exciting thing about this is that we are actually running different tracks this time, right? So it's not all people in one room. We have so much content to deploy, and we're going at a little bit of a different strategy that we're going to have tracks now. Like some of the bigger, like for instance, when I used to go to AACD back in the day, it was like, oh, you choose your own adventure kind of thing. And it won't be that complex, because like the last thing we want is thousands of people at a conference, but it is going to be bring your team, and then you're going to have to divide and conquer. Of course. Meaning you're going to go to this one, and then you're going to send them to the teams aspect, or you're going to send them to the hygiene thing, or maybe some doctors want to go into the hygiene tracks, or whatever it may be.
Right. But
I'm going to let you expand on it, because you did a great explanation of it. So I'm going to let you dig in.
No, I was just, you said everything that we talked about. It's just, look, I want to go to marketing, but I want it's hard to figure out if you need basic marketing or marketing mastery, or maybe just want social media, or maybe your office manager wants to learn about the hygiene compensation that our Bulletproof Hygiene talks about. Because maybe your office manager is doing the marketing, and you actually want to learn about clear aligners as a doctor. So there was no way, when we started looking at this, like, how do we fit all this stuff in? Like, literally, we went from almost triple the amount of hours of content, and we're trying to add more now. Between now and the time the summit will release, we'll probably have an additional 10 or 15 hours of content. So I don't want to go to a 4-day summit. And you look at what all the other summits do, and the Invisalign Summit and places like that, you can micro curate your content. So I think it's just important. And I think people were always nervous about walking out of a room or missing something. So divide and conquer, send your hygienist to certain things, send your office manager to certain things, and then come back and just execute those 3 or 4 things. Because listen, knowledge is not power, execution is power. And we said it till we're blue in the face, but how many times have you gone to a summit, learned a whole bunch of crap, and then you come back on Monday, your assistant doesn't understand it, your hygienist doesn't understand, there's no alignment. So that's what I'm super proud about, that we have something that will actually create traction.
The thing that's going to be weird this time, Craig, is that you and I are not going to, it used to be, go back to Summit 1, you and I were on the stage all day long, just doing things together. Right. And so this one, because of that, we're going to have less Pete and Craig show, so to speak. We have some fun, exciting stuff, but
it was fun because Pete, you remember you said like, I don't want to be like you do your part. I'm just like standing up there.
Yeah.
Like, well, I feel the same way. Peter's going into marketing, doing deep dives on heavy duty marketing stuff. And I'm just like his guest listener up there. So it was awkward for both of us. We just didn't want to admit it. We had one day that was really me and one day it was all him. And it was just felt weird, but like, listen, that's the point in business and everything you're doing. You have to evolve. You always have to be doing, always evolving and innovating in some fashion. And I think it's an important thing. Like there's the business you're in and the business you're becoming. And clearly, having me up on stage, not talking, or Peter up on stage, not talking at all, that wasn't a good fit. So.
I think the reason too, I think one of the impetus for doing this or leaning in so much more, Craig, is like you always say, success leaves clues. And we're seeing so much awesome results from this mastermind because we actually are running 3 masterminds. Yes, it was those of you who went to last summit, we announced a mastermind you could join, but really it was a trifecta in that it's a independent autonomous hygiene mastermind you get, an independent autonomous doctor mastermind, and an independent team mastermind. That's all going on conjunctively towards the same outcome. So we're seeing this synergy effect that's going on in the practices that we that have joined with us. And so we're like, man, we need to bring this same kind of concept to Summit, even more so, right? And so that's the really, to me, that's exciting because that's, like you said, the evolution, the innovation that's happened is like, let's modify this and not be too proud about like staying up on stage and me and you just having the Pete and Craig show. Like that's valuable to some people, but like, guess what? It's a lot more valuable and it moves the lever a lot more for people's practices and income and freedom and time and currency and all the things if we do it this way. So that's why we're pivoting, honestly.
No, 100%.
I did that all in one breath, Craig.
I know you got to breathe a little bit, by the way, I can't help myself. When I was talking about the Facebook thing, I was reading this post. I have an excellent hygienist who wants to be paid in commission as recognition of personal production, blah, 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 blah. I pay her $60 an hour, but I want to devise a system. And then you have this litany of people like, I stopped reading at $60 per hour. I can't believe you still hire hygienists. And these are all different comments. I'm so thankful I don't have to deal with hygienists. This is
online.
Online. It's just incredible. I'm so
glad
on a Facebook group with them. Yeah.
Glad I don't have to deal with them.
I'm so glad I don't have to deal with it. I guess my only drawback is that it's me who's universally loved by my own patients. And then and one dentist is actually really funny because he says she's universally loved by patients. So this dentist says, if she's universally loved by patients, why don't you have her put a tip jar in the hygiene room? It's terrible.
Here's what's funny about this. If we could take a snapshot of everyone who said that in those comments and look at the way they are 5 years from now, for shit sure, they're in the exact same place.
Yes, 100%.
Right? Their practice is the exact same place it was today.
Because it's the belief systems. If you look at a business, it's 90% psychology and skill set of the owner. And if you really boil it down to psychology, and if you believe your hygienists you should actually have a practice that does not employ hygienists, how much can you actually grow? That means you have to do every single cleaning. How much time would you have to be able to do your own?
Talk about rate limiting step. Oh my God.
So $60 an hour, 2,000 hours a year, $396,000 per year is what that hygienist needs to be producing, collecting to earn $60 an hour. So if she did $500,000 of production, she could actually afford to be paid divided by 0.3. Why am I doing that wrong? Divided by a third. So $500,000 divided in 3 equals 166 divided by 2,000 hours. Yeah. So if she was doing $500,000 in production and you paid her 33%, she could actually be making $83 an hour. Not to say that that's a good idea, but it would be better off having a hygienist working for $70 an hour that produces $500,000 a year versus having a hygienist that's being paid $22 an hour producing $50,000 a year. So your $22 per hour hygienist could wind up being, a better deal for you than your 83.
100%. Look, it's just math. It's not emotion. It shouldn't be, oh, I stopped reading at $60. Like I always say, lead with math instead of emotion. Like, okay, well, if you want $1 million an hour, let's just reverse engineer what that looks like, right? I don't really care what it is. I'm literally, I'm agnostic to what I pay you. It has to work out well. It has to be a triple win. This is a business at the end of the day. So, anyway, yeah.
But is that funny though? How people
get so emotional, like, oh my God, you can't pay him that. Why? Or you can't do that. Why?
I don't understand why people don't look at it, what it is for you. Like, if I invested with you, Peter, and you got me 3 times my money, but you made 5% commission off of me. Like, this really blows people away, by the way. Like, writing you a check for like 100 grand would bother people. I wouldn't look at it that way. I'm like, you made me,
because you're an abundant thinker. I mean, look, it's psychology.
But I mean, tell me how you're different. Are you like, if I tripled your money, if you gave me X dollars and I just, or like look at like with MCC, for example, Peter. Okay. Like, do you give a shit? And this is for those that don't know, Peter and I have engaged the company that gives us a percentage of what we save in credit cards. So meaning they negotiate our credit card fees for us. Peter and I are saving thousands of dollars, right? I believe I don't, of course, I don't know how it all, they give us a percentage of what they save us. So they're making money, we're making money. I do not care if they're making money.
Split the delta is essentially what it is.
Right. But
save $1,000. Yes.
My accountant started saying to me, like, you're not obviously taking much credit cards now in 2022 or 2021. I'm like, well, why do you say that? Is it because your credit card fees have gone down? I had to remember I told you this?
I forgot that. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I guess because of COVID, people, and I actually went down a rabbit hole. I'm like, oh shit. No. I hired a company that gives me my money, gives me my savings.
Right.
But like, would it ever bother you that our credit card fees got so high that they were making, $20,000 a year? Who cares? I see $20,000 that I'm saving, or $25,000 that I'm saving. It just gets me crazy that people have that psychology.
Yeah. And not to harp on that, but it's so funny how like a lot of people talk about like, I need to trim my P&L. And the first thing they'll look at is dental supplies. I'm like, why is it always dental supplies to look at?
Let's not use Luxatemp. Let's use some shitty.
But the credit card fees are staring you right in the face.
Right in the face. Yeah.
No. Let's use off-labeled dental products.
Peter, in full disclosure,
I'm kidding.
Peter was pretty confident that he's not going to save any money. And you wound up saving a lot of money. So Peter had done a really good job negotiating his credit card fees. And like we talked about before, it goes back up. So you negotiate, you feel like a rock star. 8 months later, they rise back up and it's all bad again. So
is anything else pressing today on Monday, the 25th, that you want to get out to the,
congratulations on Bitcoin, Peter.
Oh, Craig.
I won't go there, but, yeah,
Craig, really? Because I did something for it.
Well, I don't know.
Are you congratulating me?
Well, congratulations. Thank you for getting.
All I did was hodl.
Well, congrats. Thank you for pushing me when it was 3,000 and 5,000 all those times, and
this is
9,000. Peter would actually send me texts of confirmations of buying it at 7,000. Be like, your turn. I'm like, oh shit, really?
Yeah, I think our egos made us. Yeah, I think we the taunting did well for us. Like, I can do it. You're not going to beat me. I'll do this.
I'll show him. I'll buy one at 5,000.
I'm actually thinking about doing, ironically, Craig, I haven't told you this, looking at the schedule, a crypto like financial track at Summit, just because we have so many people who are interested in it. And
yeah, you should absolutely do that. But that way, that's the primary motive for the tracks, because some people, Bitcoin's like religion to some people.
Well, it's not just Bitcoin, but meaning the process of how to do, like, I'm talking about security and protocol and why to do it all and do it this way. Yeah. So like, because I get questions all the time. So I'm like, man, maybe I should just make a track at the Summit for this. That would be cool.
I'm doing
as well as partnership and as well as real estate. I'm going to do those 3. And marketing, of course. I'm going to do level 1 and level 2 marketing.
I might want to do the real estate one with you. I feel so proud.
Yeah. You definitely should do that. See, we're doing it together there, pal.
Yeah, we'll have a couple
together.
Yeah, there's a better song than that one. There's like
that was the one I made up just now.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I'm going to do a clear aligner one, which is cool. I'm excited about that one. I have assistants that want to do like how to do scanning, be a badass in scanning, do 3-minute scans, and how to upload to all the different clear aligner companies. Anyway, lots of content. Happy it's not going to be 7 days and just 2 days. So if you've ever been to a summit before, come back to this one because this one's going to be completely new and you get to
and
choose your
just
own
a badass
adventure.
city. Like there's a reason Nashville is literally the hottest city right now in real estate because like it's awesome.
Yeah, did I tell
It's
you my buddy
awesome,
Josh may want to move there?
dude. Everyone
Josh
wants to
will
move to
remain nameless.
Nashville.
Yeah,
It's like Nashville is awesome.
yeah, I'm excited about it. And
One of my best
where's the
friends just
hotel?
moved.
It's in the Gulch, right? Like that nice area.
Yep, it's in the Gulch. It's in the Gulch
Cool.
part. It's like the Grand Hyatt or Park Hyatt. It's a badass. Like you go to the website and look, it's like rooftop pool or have patio, like badass stuff. Badass.
Yeah.
So I know when we first started this, Craig, you and I were like, let's only have it at St. Regis's. And then like,
yeah. No, you're like exclusive partner of I mean, depends on the city. I mean, the Houston St. Regis was great.
No, they're great. I'm just saying it's like we've even gotten out of our own way. Like, hey, let's just go where it's like is the best. Like, let's not be like so dogmatic with the hotel. Like,
yeah, that's just my personality, though. I get so stuck in things and don't ever lift my head.
But this one's awesome. This one's gonna be fun. And I'm too bad it's so far away, 8 months away, because I really want to do it now. But anyway,
also the VIP tickets. I'm excited about that. So now we have a VIP lounge, Peter. You know that? Did you know about Lacey and I putting together the VIP lounge?
No.
So it's not only, better meals, breakfast and lunch, and they get to hang out with the entire Bulletproof team. So buy a VIP ticket for your hygienist if they're going to Bulletproof Hygiene. That'd be great.
Oh, everybody's going to be in
everybody can go into the VIP lounge that buys a VIP ticket. So there's 40 VIP tickets because last year they sold out really quickly.
But I'm saying like Sharissa and Brittany are going to be there.
Brittany, Erica. So
Erica.
It's a way because Erica and the girls got pretty overwhelmed during breaks with everybody trying to pick their brain. So now it's a curated content, or a curated room, and it's a place that we could just go to chill out. So upgraded meals and all that stuff, and then also upgraded seating. So special seats are reserved.
So like the Tony Robbins up in his Lions.
Yeah.
And shocker that you've extracted some Tony Robbins shit into our summits, correct?
Yeah, I did.
Such a fanboy.
Yeah. So,
are they Lions? Peter. Are they Lions?
Peter, I didn't tell you this either. Oh, I got so exciting. We're lighting a freaking fire and we're going to roll around in hot coal.
I thought it was going to be bullet casings, hot bullet casings.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have a 50 caliber machine gun mounted on the roof and you're going to have to walk across the hot casings. No, but I'm excited about this one. I really am. And now, with 2 a year and the track system will be able to go through. And even if you went to the one in the spring, you'll want to go to the one in the winter as well. Cause you'll want to
wait, we're doing 2 a year.
Yeah, we are.
I didn't get that memo.
No, of course you didn't.
I'm not kidding you guys. You guys, this is not even like,
no, I know
this is not bullshit. Like,
no, it's not bullshit. It's not bullshit. Because we have an executive director for Bulletproof and Peter and I, as you'll learn, as we do this, we've done the culture index and we've really learned a lot about what our strengths and weaknesses. Peter and I have redundant weaknesses. We're both very poor with detail. So we hired an executive director. And so Peter has calls with her and I have calls with her and shit gets done. And Peter doesn't get the memo. So it's cool. It's fine.
Oh, well.
Now you feel like me.
Wow. We're doing 2 summits here. Oh, amazing. All right.
That'll be great.
All right, Craig. We'll enjoyed it, buddy. And we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening.